Look, have mercy on me.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of On the Bluff. Gabe, Kuhn, neither one of us 100%.
Yeah, nope.
Could have
Definitely
both.
operating at about 75, 70. 80 would be very nice.
I was thinking more like 42.
Okay. That's specific.
We could have both been on the pup this week.
Hey, so we're operating at 39% for episode 39.
Yeah, we'll call it that.
All right,
that's
cool.
fair.
Rock on.
Both.
Hey, it's about to be episode 40, brother.
Yeah, we're getting
Can you
there.
believe it?
Yeah, we're building up.
What are we going to do for like our milestones? Like 50, 100?
I don't know. Something crazy.
Okay. Something crazy.
I don't know. We'll probably forget and then get in the studio and be like, oh, dang.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably what will happen.
Yeah.
Both coming off bachelor trips this weekend. You on your own, me on one of my friends.
Good time in St. Louis?
Good time in St. Louis. Brain is super scrambled from riding 1,000 roller coasters.
I heard you went on Mr. Freeze back to back to back to back to back.
We did like 3 times in a row. I think I rode it eight times between Saturday and Sunday.
When I was a kid, they had to slow it down a little bit because it gave people neck issues.
I wish they'd crank it up a little bit more.
There's actually a trick, and you don't do it because you'll get in trouble these days. But you know how you get up to the top and you go backwards?
Yeah.
If you put a coin in the palm of your hand, you'll fall faster than the coin. So the coin will look like it's floating.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But right when you get to the bottom, you got to snatch that thing up or it's going to hit somebody and it might get dangerous.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a fun ride, though. Great ride.
Yeah, my big self, I don't know if I can handle those rides the same way as I did as a kid. I used to have a season pass.
Yeah.
Good old Six Flags St. Louis.
Yeah, we went all out. Bought the season pass, season-long flash pass.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just for 2 days?
Yeah, it's worth it.
Okay.
Preferred parking.
Yeah, for sure.
Food discounts, free drinks.
And y'all didn't have to spend a bunch on like going to St. Louis?
No, not bad at all.
Yeah, for sure.
Fun trip. A lot of rides. Good time. Yeah. Nashville, how was it?
It was good. It was good. I think the alcohol consumption until the wedding is going to be at a low.
At a bare minimum?
Yes, bare minimum.
Maybe a couple beers?
Maybe. If that, brother. I don't know, man. I'm pooped. I am pooped.
I called you on Saturday afternoon.
About places to go.
Yeah, King of St. Louis. And, move over, Nelly.
Yeah, I was going to say, who is the King of St. Louis? Nelly still?
And you didn't sound like, you sounded like you had it together.
Okay. Cool.
Was that
false?
I
mean, no, I did.
I was just expecting.
I remember you calling. We're good.
You were at the house though. I expected you to be like out and about.
When was that?
It was like 4:00 on Saturday.
So we had just got done with Top Golf.
Oh, y'all did?
Yeah. So I was banging drives out there.
Yeah. How was your Top Golf? We did Top Golf also.
I hit
Saturday night.
I was just they were trying to play games.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, just put the damn tracer on and let's hit the damn ball.
Yeah.
I don't know why we don't have, like they had this Angry Birds game up there. I'm like, why are we playing this?
Yeah.
Like if we're gonna play, at least play like a course. So like I can hit a drive down the middle.
Yeah.
Show you all my short game.
Most of our friends were doing that too. They were just, who cares about the score? Just crank these drives.
Exactly. Yeah. And the driver there's kind of dead. The driver they give you kind of dead. And the balls are too because they have the tracer in it.
Right.
So
it's not the same.
Are you a golf? You're not much. You don't golf.
I'm not good.
Okay.
I was actually decent.
I'm not saying you're good. Like no one. Anybody who's like a weekend golfer is not good.
No, I'm not even like serviceable.
Okay.
I've played golf twice in my entire life.
So you don't really have clubs or anything?
I do not have clubs. Gotcha. And I'm left-handed, so I can't
They had to bring you the special ones out.
They did.
Yep.
And they don't have many.
No.
A 5, a 7, a 9, a driver, and a hybrid. And that's it.
So Top Golf not lefty friendly.
It is not lefty friendly. No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. You only get
But you were in my neck of woods there. That's Chesterfield. That's West County.
Yeah.
That's 5 minutes away from my house.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely the burbs.
Well, not my house, my
childhood home,
childhood teenage home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's more out in the burbs. It was like 30 minutes from downtown, but cool spot. It's good to get away from.
It's not 30 minutes if you know how to drive the roads. Take 40. Just get there.
27 minutes. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Well, not if you're local.
Well, we are not. So there's that. Okay.
All right. Dominican Republic
trip.
I'm
gonna get my head in the game.
There we go. Get your head in the game, brother. Come on. You've had all Monday to get ready.
I have not.
You drove. This was Monday when we recorded.
Yes.
You drove today, right?
Yeah,
you got home at like 3.
We got back at like 3:30.
Oh, rock home.
Yeah.
Okay.
So full disclosure, I'm so ready to go home and go to sleep.
they went 2-1. Dominican Republic trip. One against the. We'll start there. One against the Dominican national team, and then 2 against select teams from the Dominican national team, which was the 2 wins were relatively easy compared to. I mean, the first one it was just lesser competition, and they handled business. But that first game, man, 91-84 against pros, like actual pros that have been practicing for a while. Right. And you had Caleb Mills show up, 13 points in the second half. He had 18 altogether.
18 and 8.
Javon Quinterly had 7 assists to go along with 13 points. Man, like just overarchingly, we'll start there.
Yeah, this is the thing.
I think everything about that trip was encouraging.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I can leave it at. I thought they gelled quick, even though they've only had one run of 5-on-5s before they went there. It was just cool to see on August 1st, everyone get together. That all the games ended up being live streamed, and they didn't do anything overly special, but at the same time, like seeing these guys perform for the first time with guys that they're not necessarily going to play alongside. You had some salmon issues with Jaquan Walton, that he didn't get to play the third game. There was guys, they were testing rotations out. Like
the Mills only played in
everybody
the first game.
Seemed to gel relatively quickly, even considering they hadn't played with each other, which was definitely encouraging and fun to see.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's the biggest thing. Like, once again, last week we talked about this, the wins, the losses, even necessarily the stats. Didn't matter all that much. This trip was about camaraderie, growing as a team. I'm sure they did that. We got to see a lot of the pictures and stuff of what they did. And the times
night golf. Little night golf.
Little banana boat ride. Yeah. So we got to see a little bit of that. But as far as the on-the-floor stuff, the biggest thing is they looked pretty dang good playing together for a team that has not played together, literally. And like you said, mixed match lineups. David Jones obviously not being a part of the team. Caleb Mills missing 2 games. Jaquan Walton. So a lot of freshmen playing heavy minutes, which is something that we don't expect to see during the season. So with everything that was going on with the short amount of time that this team has been together, with the different lineups, with not the full starting 5, it's good. It's encouraging. Like, we've talked about the chemistry stuff. That's been a big talking point all offseason is what is the chemistry going to look like when they get into the season? And if that's day one, if that's the
baseline,
if that's the building block for the rest of the next 2.5-3 months going into the season, I feel encouraged.
And that's without David Jones and DeAndre Williams not there. I felt really good about what they put out there, and there was some consistency to it. And one of the things about this team we've talked about, which you just brought up, is gelling and, all these different mix match pieces. You don't know how it's going to look. To see, game to game, different guys getting their game off and no one seeming to get mad. They were deferring to guys like J.J. Taylor and Jordan Brown both had 20 points in the final game. They kept deferring to those guys, letting them get their shots, get their game off. First game, it was Caleb Mills in the second half. Javon Quinterly said, hey, here's a ball. Keep taking your shots. You've got a hot hand. Second game was Jaquan Walton. Everybody was giving him the ball, letting him go cook. It felt like there was just a lot less ego going on. And obviously you can do that when it's 3 exhibition games in the DR. And maybe that doesn't translate the same way when you're actually playing games that matter in the college basketball season. But I loved seeing sort of how unselfish this team was this damn early.
Yeah, this is probably what we talked about the most last week. We had kind of a conversation debate on, is it the hot hand guy? Is it, you have a dominant scorer? How does it play out? And at least in this exhibition series, it was just that. It was whoever is playing well, let's get them the ball. And to me, I hope that's really something that goes throughout the season, because when you have so many talented players, we talked about it with the amount of experience they have, the drive they have to win, especially these older guys, being able to spread the ball around to whoever is playing well is going to be paramount for the season. It can't be like I'm the guy that's going to take 15 shots every game, and I never thought that it would be. It could. We'll see. Everything's up in the air, but I just feel like that's got to be the point for this team, is feeding the players that are playing well. And same thing, if this is the baseline, if this is day one, then that's another encouragement of it's going to be unselfish, and whoever is playing well is going to get the ball. I mean, Jaquan Walton in that second game.
27-14.
27-14, 10 of 14 from the floor.
4 of 6 from 3.
Yeah, uber efficient, just like he was last season at Wichita State. So to see him in the fold so quickly, another, to me, a really good sign.
Now, the other side of that, though, is it could be a falsehood because all guys were going to get their minutes and get their shots. Right? Because you like, Penny doesn't care. He's going to throw you out, see what works, see if you're ready to go, see who you work well together with. So everybody got their minutes and everybody got their time to shine, if you will. Yeah. So it could be a falsehood. But I was extremely encouraged with everything coming out of that. And again, like we've talked about this, if you add DeAndre Williams at 6, but you have at least 5 proven guys that can go give you 20 a damn night.
Yeah.
And Jaquan Walton, I am just thoroughly impressed with. And I know he didn't get to play game 3. In game 1, he had right around 10 points. But game 2, 27 points. And he can, we talked about his shooting and 40% from 3. Like, he can get it however he wants. Yep. He can get to the rim. He can shoot a mid-range. It's really, really cool to see all the talent that's been put together by this staff.
Yeah, and I'll agree with you on it could be a falsehood because egos are way different in August than they are in November, December, January, February, March. Completely different ball game. I don't get that vibe from this team, and we're not doomsday prepping in August here on that. Like, I think both of us feel relatively well about the selflessness of this team. It's just like you always got to put that caveat in there because you never know.
Yeah, it's Dominican Republic, August 1st through 7th. Right. That's a different vibe altogether. One thing I was Carl Sharenfont, very, very high energy player on both ends of the floor, averaged about 9 points a game. My biggest issue though with talking up all these freshmen, and I say this because I see how this plays out year to year when you have guys with experience who can give you good production. I don't know where the minutes are for Carl Sharenfont, JJ Taylor, and these freshmen. I don't. I mean, it could change as we get into the season if they show their value. And I think Carl Sharenfont more likely because he's just so high energy on both ends. He can be a disruptor on the defensive end. He gives you enough on the offensive end to keep him out there. But even with him, I don't know where they're going to even find spot minutes for these guys with how deep this team is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat. And like you said.
And that you don't want to run into problems with freshmen either, even though I know Penny's not going to give out pity minutes just because he recruited these guys.
No, but it's like, we've talked about this was no David Jones or potentially DeAndre Williams either. So that's 2 more guys that you got to have minutes for and that are playing. And also there's players missing games here. Like Caleb Mills didn't play 2 games. Jaquan Walton didn't play. So how they fit them in, if they do, is a big question mark. But I just don't see with the depth and experience of this team there being much left over from them.
Yep.
Which, same thing, egos are different now than they will be when the season gets rolling, but hopefully they're able to see that these guys have been here, done that, are ahead of where we are. That's, to me, that's best case scenario. That's what you can hope for, is just continue working in the shadows, and whoever's red shirt is red shirt, and however that plays out, hopefully it plays out positively. Another thing I want to talk about a little bit, you hit at the top, JQ having 9 assists. What game was that? That was second game.
Yep.
Also had a 7 assist game in the first game. We know what he is. We're not going to, break any news on JQ's looking awesome.
A great table setter. Oh, yeah. Facilitator.
But just to think about him with this team at full strength conducting it, once again, we've said this when he was being recruited and when he committed, but seeing it in live action, it is salivating what he could do with this team from a point guard perspective this season.
Penny has learned over the years, year 1 through 4, it was Alex Lomax, and what are they how are they going to go about finding someone who's going to facilitate for this offense? He has learned through the Kendrick Davis process. He always wants that. I think that's very clear with him going after JQ as hard as he did and trying to get him part of the fold, giving him the starting minutes already, and more than likely starter going into the season. He knows what he wants in a point guard and a table setter, and he's getting that out of whoever's in that position now. And what I like about it is I don't think JQ, contrary to years past, JQ's not the only guy who can set up this team. Caleb Mills can do that at times. He's got that ability. You have a guy in Jalen Young who can come off the bench who can do that for you.
I think Jaquan Walton's a good passer at the 3.
They really don't have a shortage of guys that can handle the ball without turning it over, which has been a problem in the past.
Right. And the value that's in that is absurd. We saw it last year with Kendrick Davis. And it's weird to think about. Penny did go all of this time without having a true premier point guard. But like you said, when he got Kendrick Davis, That's a game changer. I mean, you could go back and say Jeremiah Martin, but we know Jeremiah wasn't a one.
It was up till the end where and he started. He was a scoring guard,
right?
Then.
That's what he was. So to see this shift in focus and perspective again, like we've mentioned in multiple different areas of Penny Hardaway's coaching, but like this one to me is the most important. We know how important the point guard position is overall, obviously, but in college basketball, it's just a different feel with that point guard position. Like usually the teams that you see making deep runs have true elite point guards. Saw it last year with KD and the transition that into JQ and just seeing a glimpse of what he could look like with this talent minus guys. It just continues to encourage me for what this season
and
can
I'm
look like.
glad that they have a guy who's experienced enough to understand who needs the ball and how they need to get the ball.
Right.
Because this is going to be different. This offense is going to run different than it has in the past. There's just too many guys, and you have to decide who has a hot hand that night and how to get them the ball. And like your main offensive piece, theoretically, he was a 20 and 10 guy last year.
Yeah.
And Jordan Brown, like he's a low post scorer. He can step out a little from the mid range and go make something happen.
Right.
But you need a guy that understands how to get that guy his touches and keep him happy and get him his points, get him his game, right? So I think Javon Quinterly fits that role perfectly. And I was happy to see by game 3 they were very intentional about getting Jordan Brown the ball. He had 23 and 11.
Yeah.
He first 2 games, it was a little interesting how they were trying to operate with him, but they finally got very intentional in that final game, and he made that Dominican Republic select team pay for it.
Yeah, he did. It's hard to poke a hole in this roster. I mean, it's weird saying that in August, but just looking at the spread of it, the way it's worked out and come together, and what the staff has done, once again, flowers are deserved.
Isn't it, like if you're poking a hole, it's all kind of more abstract thoughts.
Absolutely.
Like how are they going to gel? How
Right.
from a if you're talking
depth.
roles, if you're just talking roles, they have every role filled.
Yep.
They have shooters. They have a true point guard. They have a guy who's a good off guard. They have a good big. If DeAndre Williams comes back, you have a guy who could facilitate, help you on the defensive end at the 4. You have David Jones who could be a dirty work 3. You have bench players that just come in and show what they're made of. Nick Jourdain knocked down a couple threes in that first game and rebounded his ass off the entire Dominican Republic trip. Like, I mean, it's hard to poke a hole in the roster from a role and talent and production standpoint. It's all about, okay, how do they mesh and what does that look like? What's the pecking order, hierarchy, that whole thing? Are they going to be able to stay happy? Those are the holes.
Those are really the question marks, and that kind of stuff. We won't know that for months.
Yeah.
So instead of harping on that, like, some people are going to get fired up about that now. Like, just looking at what's built and where this could potentially go is pretty cool. Football is coming quick.
Yeah, it is.
Are you excited?
Yeah. What just Seth Hennigan, speaking of Tiger football, day 1 after camp. And I think he's being truthful in his assessment. I know people were questioning it, but he says he thinks this is the most talented roster he's been a part of since he's been at Memphis. And that's not surprising to me, all these damn transfer portal additions that were high recruits way back when. 4 stars, high 3 stars. There should be more talent on this roster. But again, similar to football or similar to basketball, how's that talent actually going to translate to the field? Yeah,
no, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, but I really am excited about this team. Like what they've got in the trenches. Yes, me and you are going to stay there because that's where
my dog.
It's where games are won and lost. But like what they have at those positions, I feel like sets this team apart from teams in years past. And I agree with Seth saying this is the most talented roster that he's played on. And now you're in a lesser conference. We don't even have to necessarily get into that. But I just feel like if things click right, the talent is there, the depth is there, the positions that matter for the most part I feel good about, namely quarterback, offensive line. I know there's, what does it look like? But I feel good going into the season about what they have. I don't know. I think they could surprise a lot of people. I know expectations are down coming off these back-to-back 6-6 regular seasons. But I don't know. I just feel like this could be one of those seasons that kind of takes you off guard.
Easier conference, easier schedule, and the schedule actually I think plays out relatively well. And you just have you have a influx of talent that's unknown right now. So I don't know if there's other teams out there. Like you can't watch film on what this team's going to look like. They're going to look drastically different. So they may come out and sort of surprise a few folks depending on how everybody comes along in fall camp. what I'm excited about, and this is something we haven't really discussed, with Matt Barnes and year 2 as a DC, now that he's got this depth up front, and we were banging that drum before the season last year, they did not have enough depth.
Yeah.
And people wanted to, he's going to be multiple, and he's going to try to pull strings and figure out what he can do and what he can't do. I feel like this year, with all he has up there, he can get into some four down, he can get into some 3 down, use more exotic blitzes, get after the passer better. I mean, you got Jalen Joyner coming off the edge. You're going to have Cormonte Hamilton coming back. Jalen Allen's really productive. He was their leading sack getter and tackle for loss guy. You have guys in the middle and Derek Hunter and Josh Ellison. Like
Darius Jones,
you're gonna be able to get more multiple. And I want to see what that multiplicity sort of does for Matt Barnes as a DC. How much more inventive can he be on that side, and what does that mean for the team ultimately?
Yeah, because especially at the college level, like being exotic and being multiple and being different
throws people off.
It really messes people up. Obviously, your quarterbacks aren't the same level as pros. They're not reading defenses like that. They're not able to make those same pre-snap reads and stuff that professional quarterbacks are. So I think being able to be exotic and throw different stuff out there is massive, especially these first 6 games. Kenny and I were on the phone talking about this last week. Those first 6 games are going to dictate the season because your back 6 it's pretty easy. It's a pretty much a walk in the park. But your first 6, you have Missouri in there, Boise State in there, Tulane in there.
In a row.
So your 3 most difficult games, 3 most difficult opponents are 3 in a row. And those games are going to
show us what they really are.
Yes.
Right there.
And I think, whether this be fair or not, I think it's going to dictate where the fans land on this season. Because if you go into game 7 3-3, there's not going to be much around it. There's not going to be even if you close out those last 6.
You have to win one of those 3, man. At the very least,
bare minimum.
If you get 2 of 3, you feel really good about where you're at.
Yeah, I think according to FPI, I think they're favored against Boise State and maybe Tulane. It's close. I was looking through it the other day. Yeah, there's like maybe 1 or 2 games that they're not favored in, and they're like 50-50. Yeah. Other than the Missouri is the biggest discrepancy. I think it's like 65-35. But there's no game where it's like they could not win this game. Missouri's obviously tough.
Yeah, but
they're bottom level SEC team.
No one's overly impressed by Missouri. Like that's not you're not just automatically losing that game when you walk out.
No,
we're not talking about Alabama or Georgia,
right? I mean, what's their quarterback's name? Brady Cook, isn't that?
Yeah, Brady Cook.
He's trash.
Hey, take it easy on Brady Cook, man.
He's not good. Can we be frank?
From St. Louis. Trained at Elite Football Academy where I trained by one of the best, Matt Bierman. So chill out, bro.
I'm not saying anything. But no,
he's not a high level SEC quarterback.
He's not.
No.
He looked terrible last year.
But Luther Burden's going to be a handful.
The Luther Burden is the
and that defense was really good down the stretch of last season.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see how this shakes out. But those 3 games are I think fairly or unfairly are going to tell the story of this season. Because you go 3-3, let's say you close out those 6 with the winning all those games and winning a bowl game, you'll get kind of that rebound, that roller coaster rebound on fan engagement and stuff. But if you go into game 7 6-0, what are we looking like?
I think that's a far out there possibility. I hope it happens.
I know, but this
if
is
you
what
do,
August
you feel
is
pretty
for,
damn
brother.
good about it. You feel pretty, and that's why I love August. That's why I love the start of fall camp. We can just talk about the good scenarios.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, if we look at
the
the
hope
scenario,
is there.
Even 5-1.
Everyone's 0-0. It's all hope right now.
But if this team's looking at a 5-1, 6-0,
you feel great.
You feel great. You feel great. I think fans are in it. I think you're obviously playing very well and have beaten 2 of the 3 of Missouri, Boise State, and Tulane. You got to feel really good about that. And you go on that back 6, which I think they're favored in every game, except maybe the SMU one's close.
Yeah.
So I know it's August. I know, fall camp just started. We haven't played a game yet or anything like that. But just to push that narrative and get it out there before the season does get here, I think that's where this season lands. If this is a won or lost season, it's going to be in those 6 games, namely those 3 games. 4 through 6.
And it's cool to be hopeful right now.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm hopeful about?
What are you hopeful about?
That guy on the other side of the glass.
What about him?
Kenny Stubblefield. Yeah. I'm hopeful that he's going to deliver us a great hot 3. That'll be next.
What's up, guys? I'm so excited to announce that we have partnered with Coaching for Literacy, and you can read more about them at coachingforliteracy.org or follow them on social media at Coaching for Literacy. Your subscription to Bluff City NIL is 100% tax deductible because of our partnership together. Thank you for supporting Memphis Tigers student athletes and helping promote the monumental cause of childhood literacy.
Has FAU somersaulted over a lot of other teams as like your most aggravating fan base?
Oh, easily. They just think they are so elite because they made this one run. You won this one fluky ass game where there were 6 or 7 different calls. Everyone were up in arms about like, what are we talking about? And it's not like a thing where they're like, hey, Memphis, great game. You guys are great competitors. I can't wait to see what the future holds between us. Because if they said that, I would respect them. I don't respect FAU fans. I don't.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Do you think that the confidence that Penny Hardaway has, the piece that it seems like he has, do you think that's strictly because, hey, I got this awesome recruiting class I just signed, or that is year 5? This is getting
I think
easier
it's both
to
of
me.
those.
Yeah.
It's year 5, and he started to tick off accomplishments. You know, won the conference tournament last year, been in the NCAA tournament 2 years in a row. I think he's comfortable. He knows the job. And then on top of it, he very clearly has the best team he's ever had. Why wouldn't you feel comfortable?
Tune in to The Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. Yes, I'm bringing the air horns back out.
Let's hear it.
I'm bringing the air horns a little bit out because I know you guys have had a rough weekend.
Not rough.
You had to wake us up, huh?
It was a little bit rough.
I hear you.
But listen, you guys are killing it. Let's get to this hot 3. You guys ready?
Yes, sir.
So we've been talking now. I mean, conference realignment has been a part of the conversation in hypotheticals for the better part of a few years now. What's going to happen? Where are things going? Well, a lot of dominoes dropped this weekend or this past week. Tell me what you guys thought on where the Big 12 is, the Pac-12, AAC, all that kind of stuff. Where does even Memphis line up in all this?
The Pac-12? You mean the Pac-4?
The Pac-4.
The Pac-4. So we have Oregon and Washington to the Big 10. Then we have Colorado, Arizona State, and Utah to the Big 12, leaving behind Oregon State, Washington State, California, and Stanford.
That's it.
Golly, if I wasn't right a couple months ago.
Hey,
Good
right
God,
here.
man. I
Hit
just
the
knew
nail.
it was imploding. There was all that damn positive, that optimism from all the higher ups within the Pac-12. George Kliavkoff, their commissioner. And when you hear too much optimism about, oh, yeah, we're going to sign this media rights deal. And then when Pac-12 media days rolled around and they didn't announce it, I go, oh, it's over for.
Yeah.
It's over with. They're going to get absolutely disintegrated. And that's what's happened.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have 4 schools looking for a home. But let's start. Oregon, Washington, the Big Ten. Any overwhelming thoughts there?
I mean, I anytime there's realignment, and with this realignment stuff that's happened over the last year, it's really cool. Like, we get to see some of these matchups we don't get to see as much. Like, the Oregon-Ohio State games are going to be fun. Oregon-Michigan. Like, when these top-tier teams get to play each other more, I think it makes the game better, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay, I'll say this. And I think on the Big 12 front, I think these are good additions for the Big 10, especially when they go for a media rights deal. They look at it as Washington, we get Seattle, and Oregon, we get Portland.
Right.
They're looking at these big markets, and they love it. Big 12 didn't do quite as big on markets, but they doubled down on basketball, and they get power conference teams. So I like both of these moves for them financially. What does bother me, I'll go against what you said to a certain extent, is the regionality and the tribalism and sort of the regional rivalries is what college sports and definitely in turn college football have been built off of.
This I agree with.
And we just escape it, man, just for dollars, for money constantly. And it's just frustrating to see, like Oregon State. When's that going to be played again?
Right.
Like when's that going to get played again? When's the Apple Cup? Washington State going to get played again? Like we completely blow all that up to say, oh, well, I get $60 million per year in TV rights. I wasn't going to get that over there. It's frustrating. I get why they make the decisions they make for money, but that part of it always, when I see realignment happen, that always sticks in my brain.
Yeah, I mean, it can fall on either side of the coin, right? Like it's a lot of fun to see these new potential rivalry matchups and how they'll develop with these bigger schools going to, conferences with already established as like star teams. But at the same time, you're right. You lose like those in-state rivalries, those long-standing rivalries, because as you said, conferences are regional or supposed to be regional, or were at one point. Now we're obviously done with that. But like the regionality of the conferences and stuff allow those games to line up and allow for those rivalries that have stood, some of them for years and years and years and decades. But then, like I said, on the flip side of that, like the way we're going to have to transition to it in the modern day is like, okay, we get to see a lot more big teams play each other, and that's just the reality of it, because all these teams in the conferences together, like if you look at the Big Ten and the SEC, they're absolutely loaded. Especially, obviously Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC 2024 as well. It's weird. It is very weird seeing what is going on and happening right now, especially because in our lifetimes, like this has been the standard.
Yep.
Like this is what we're used to. The Pac-12 are these teams. The Big Ten are these teams. And that has been, I don't know how long before our lives, but like that's just the college football that we grew up on and that we're used to. And now it's totally shook up.
Being a University of Memphis alum and fan, it's like I don't feel overly bad for like the Pac-12 as a whole, but I do feel like it's 108 years worth of history. The Conference of Champions, multiple national championships and football and basketball and elsewhere. Like that's gone.
It's wild.
It's gone. We've gone from Power 5 to basically Power 4 at the moment. And like next year, it's going to be very telling for the Pac-12. I don't know what they do going forward. Like those teams left, like they're not going to drive revenue.
Yeah, they're not drawing.
So I don't really know how that's going to work out. Like I guess sort of for me, looking at the ACC now exploring bringing in Stanford and Cal, I guess they could land there. But it seems like those four schools are just going to have to fend for themselves one by one, find a landing spot and see what happens. And maybe Oregon State and Washington State end up in the Mountain West. Or I can't imagine a Mountain West merger where you get like Mountain West teams going to the Pac-12. It'd have to be the other way around because right now, if you pay attention to how the Mountain West has structured things within their conference and media rights, it's a $34 million exit fee if you leave to go to the Pac-12. And why would you jump at that and pay $34 million when there's no media rights deal on the table? So like it's strange to think how it'll work out. I guess the AAC has talked about absorbing those four schools, but does Stanford want to come to the AAC? Probably not. Does Cal? No. But if it's the best offer on their table, they may have to take it and jump at it.
So this is where I struggle with it. Like, what does this mean for not only Memphis? Obviously, we're going to stay pretty Memphis-centric on it, but like, what does it mean for Memphis and the group of 5 conferences as a whole? Like, where do they go?
You better get in before you get left out.
Yeah. That's it.
That's what it tells you.
How does Memphis make that work? What do you see?
I don't know.
What do you
I have
see?
no idea. I don't have a crystal ball. And here's the problem, too. Like, in Memphis' history, especially recently, you've had these windows. Like, with the Big 12, there's this window of like, oh, maybe they're viable. Maybe they'll make it into the Big 12. Those windows may come up again. It may be the ACC or the Big 12 again next. But those windows start to mean less and less and less when you're not getting in and you continually get left out of the party.
Right.
So the way I see it for Memphis right now, and this is just me understanding the situation at the moment. Be as good as you can in football. Be as good as you can in basketball. Show your value. Try to get those stadium upgrades done and control the controllable. Just be as good as you can while you can. And maybe someone will see value in you one day enough to bring you into the power conversation. But it's all about what you can do to help yourself, not what somebody else can do to help you.
Yeah. I mean, to
And
me,
I hate that, but that's sort of where we're at. It's demoralizing. It is demoralizing.
Yeah.
I'm in lockstep with a lot of people that feel that way.
Yeah, I think they're just kind of stuck in limbo, which sucks worse than kind of knowing or not knowing.
Yes.
Is that you have no idea which way it's going to play out.
Yeah, and now the ACC, like Florida State wants something new in the ACC. They want more money because they drive more TV revenue.
Right.
And I've long said this, like especially with the Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC, with the USC and UCLA to the Big Ten, there's no stop of like how much TV ratings will mean. Like the more you start to see a bad week in the SEC being Texas and Mississippi State, and you see those TV ratings, the more these conferences are just going to try to create more marquee matchups so they can make more money when their TV media rights deal is up.
Yeah.
So like there's just no real ending I see that keeps, the group of five relevant.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think it's just a constant shuffle.
And
at
it's
this
not,
point.
and like, let's not fool ourselves. A group of five in the modern day, not been that relevant anyway.
No.
12-team playoff, maybe we'll see some teams emerge, but usually when those teams emerge, they get plucked off by a power conference. So it's sort of just how the power hierarchy has been, but it's being exacerbated by these ridiculous contracts that are being put out there by TV companies, where Big Ten's making some schools are making $90 million a year. In the SEC, they're making $70 million a year. And at the group of five level, you're making 10, hopefully.
Yeah.
So it's just,
It's wild.
it's always been this way, but it's just continuing to trend to where those higher up schools just hold more and more power.
Yeah, it's wild times in college athletics. Never.
Yep.
I never foresaw this happening. I thought it was just going to be the same thing forever. But change is imminent.
you and the Pac-12 commissioners and chancellors and presidents both, brother. They had no idea either, huh?
Yeah, no, they got screwed. They got screwed bad. All right, Kenny, number 2.
All right, let's move on to some NFL training camp stuff. Obviously, they had the the Hall of Fame game, Green Bay versus.
No, not Green Bay.
Not
We
Green
had
Bay.
the Browns versus the Jets, baby.
I was thinking Aaron Rodgers. It's not not Green Bay. It's
Yep.
the New York Jets versus the Cleveland Browns. Bunch of stuff going on in training camp. What have you guys seen?
What have you seen?
I'm ready for football. That's what I've seen. We're getting freaking close, man.
Rock on.
Getting freaking close. No, it was nice. Hall of Fame game. I watch it every year, at least a little bit, just because it's like you don't know what you got until it's gone type
Yep.
deal with football when you go.
Well, the Hall of Fame game was all right.
Yeah, it's
Browns got over top, and the DTR looked
Yeah,
electric.
he did
brother.
really. DTR looked really good.
He had 30 yards passing, 30 yards rushing, TD. I mean, he looked good. He threw a block
throwing
to
blocks
spring
out
Demetric Felton into the end zone. That was
Yeah.
cool. Zach Wilson still looked like trash to me, but people were giving him credit for whatever reason.
He threw a deep ball that apparently Aaron Rodgers told him to do. So
Yeah.
he's getting some love for that.
But man, yeah, I'm just excited to see where this all goes and what teams look like in preseason. Do the Ravens still have their streak alive, their win streak alive? I think they do.
Do they?
think so.
I thought they lost it last year. Could be wrong.
No, I think they do. I think they still
Okay.
have it alive.
But yeah, no, preseason really kicks off. Towards the end of this week, maybe like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Games will really get rolling. Texans announced C.J. Stroud will start. I believe Bryce Young will start for the Panthers. I know they already called him QB1, but I think he's going to play.
And yeah, by the way, Ravens 23-game win streak.
23 games still alive. It's wild. No, I'm excited to see these rookies, especially rookie quarterbacks. Bryce Young, there's been a ton of hype surrounding him so far, just since he got to Carolina, which doesn't surprise me. Like, I don't care about the size, the 5'10", 200 pounds. That doesn't bother me. Like, if you listen to what the coaches say, and this is in depth, but the Panthers have like a YouTube series. It's called The Blueprint, where they do, it's like little mini docs. And I was watching it, and the way that Bryce Young just recites information and understands the game,
He's unbelievable.
is next level.
Yeah.
And we knew this
We
the
knew
whole time
that.
he was at Alabama, but just, being able to see it in live action and see how good he is from day one. And I'm just excited. I'm excited
You know
to
what
see him
I'm
in the
excited to
preseason.
see is what the Colts do with their quarterback position if they're going to throw Anthony Richardson in there immediately.
I'd say he's the most likely not to be the week 1 starter.
Yeah, but he got picked number 4 overall.
Right.
Right. So they may throw him in there anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. CJ
Stroud's clearly going to start. So
Yeah,
he's
that's locked in.
Yeah, and that John Mechie story is pretty cool. Coming back from leukemia, back out there, he could be a massive help too for CJ Stroud.
Yeah, needs to be.
Needs to be.
I mean, Nico Collins is technically their wide receiver 1 right now. So Mechie was a 2nd-round pick last year.
They ain't got Brandon Cooks anymore. Yeah, Mechie needs to be that guy.
Yeah, so CJ Stroud should be locked there. But I don't know. Yeah, Anthony Richardson will be interesting. Anybody else you look forward to seeing?
Is there any impending Cowboys doom on your mind?
Doom?
Yeah.
Not at the moment.
Okay. When does that usually set in? Like week 12, 13?
I mean, technically, it never stops. It never stops. It just there are waves.
Before a playoff game, your feeling of doom's always there.
Yeah, I mean, you just know what's coming. Doom will probably start to set in week 2.
Okay.
You may ask why.
Why?
We have a propensity for losing to Aaron Rodgers in heartbreaking ways.
I know that.
And in week 2, we play the Jets.
Des caught it?
Yeah, of course.
That was against Aaron Rodgers, wasn't it?
It was. It was against the Packers.
Of course it was.
2014.
Never forget it.
Right? 2014. Yeah, 2014.
But
divisional
again,
round.
we talked about this last week, though. Like, outside of like the Eagles, Cowboys, 49ers. NFC just...
It's wide open.
Why not? Why not for the Cowboys, man? Why not?
Because they are the Cowboys.
And know what's crazy? That's a great answer.
Yeah,
it's
is.
a fantastic answer.
It is. So we'll see. We'll see what's going on. Everything's positive in August.
Yes.
Usually everything's positive until mid-December. And
then everybody starts to come
back.
back
Then the wheels
down
start to fall off.
Exactly.
But no, we'll see. I know both of us are fired up for NFL. I know most people don't really care about preseason. I do care about preseason because it's football and it's back. And I don't take football for granted, you know.
Yep.
You watch it all.
Yep.
I'm not going to
No
sit there and
question.
watch a full preseason game. I'm not a psychopath, but
Yeah.
I'll watch a little bit.
I almost watched the Jets Browns cover to cover though. I'm insane.
Did you really?
I am a psychopath.
I mean, I am too. I am too. I'm crazy when it comes to football, but I don't even know when the Cowboys' first game is. If that tells you anything, I would say it's probably Saturday or Sunday, but I'll get in on it. I'll know when it's coming up.
There you go, brother.
Okay, Kenny, move us on.
All right, last topic. Jaren Jackson Jr. obviously has been playing with the United States men's national team in Las Vegas. They've been doing a bunch of training camp stuff for the FIBA World Cup starting. I think they had their first exhibition game tonight. On Monday night against Puerto Rico. There's been a bunch of video come out. A lot. It seems pretty dope. What's crazy and what I think is really interesting is that the players did kind of a secret poll, and it came out today that Jaren Jackson Jr. was rated by the players as the best player in camp.
Yep.
Have you guys seen any of the footage from this, and what are your guys' thoughts?
What's really cool off top, like the footage wise, what I've seen in clips is Steve Kerr's like using him in a almost traditional big man role, getting him in screens, pops, rolls, the whole 9 yards. Like that's something he hasn't been very good at with the Grizzlies. To see him try to develop that skill set on this team is kind of fun to watch. I hope it works out for the Grizzlies long term.
Yeah, and I mean it's a good time to do it.
Yep.
Obviously, summer you're playing with a different group of guys, so if you can develop one of those skills, especially when you're dealing with a coach like Steve Kerr, who's obviously one of the best in the game. You love that stuff. You love seeing guys work on their weaknesses and try to build them into strength, especially during the offseason. Him being, kind of named their best player in camp, obviously encouraging. How much does it mean in the grand scheme? Not much, but a cool little accolade to throw on there. And hopefully, he continues to play well throughout their run starting the night.
Why do people get surprised by Jaren Jackson Jr. being like brought up in these conversations? Like when he got voted an All-Star, you saw, because I saw some of the reaction via social media, and usually you don't put any stock in it,
right?
But they're like, "Oh, best player, come on! Like, what are we talking about?" And then like when he was voted an All-Star, it was like, "Why is he an All-Star?" Yeah.
I think the obvious low-hanging fruit is small market team. That's the low-hanging fruit. I know the Grizzlies have been more popular since Ja Morant, but they're popular for Ja Morant.
Yeah,
and people
it's
just
a star in his own
I agree.
right.
I mean, I agree. I'm just saying like why I believe that is the perception of it, because in Memphis we know how good Jaren is. Like we're watching game in and game out. We understand why he was an All-Star. We understand the accolades that he received. We know why he was the defensive player of the year. You even had people jockeying on that like during the season and stuff. So that's what.
Yeah, the Reddit stuff.
Yeah. So that's what I would say. Just the perception.
It's strange to me though. Like he's 23 years old. He's 6'11".
Yeah.
He can shoot a 3-ball. He's decent around the rim now, and he's starting to go after people. He's been on the All-NBA defensive team twice. He just won a Defensive Player of the Year. He's an All-Star now. Like, seeing the reaction to his peers thinking of him this way, I just don't – it's the least surprising thing in the world to me.
Yeah.
The dude's so uber talented.
Yeah.
And no one should be surprised by him being as good as he is. He's got a skill set unlike there's not a lot of people who've had his skill set in the history of the NBA.
No.
And I keep saying this, like last year, All-NBA defensive first team, Defensive Player of the Year, All-Star. That's probably, in the history of the Grizzlies and Memphis, probably one of the best seasons, if not the best season from an individual.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable what he's been able to do. So, no, of course, I'm not surprised that he's being thought of this way by people on that FIBA World Cup team.
Yeah, no, not at all. And we talked about it before the playoff or after the playoffs ended, and just talking about this summer and how imperative it was for him. I think we talked about it when he got announced for the roster as well. Just like this really is a pivotal summer for him.
Yep.
Like he has an opportunity, especially with Ja being suspended at the beginning of the season. Like he can
be that guy, be the guy.
He can take a step into superstardom where people are not surprised by him getting those type of accolades and awards and stuff, because fair or not, the success of this team through the first quarter of the season will largely fall on his shoulders and how he plays. And so if Memphis is successful, whatever we deem to be successful without Ja Morant for that amount of games, the blame and or praise will fall on Jaren Jackson. And I think this summer is obviously a big stepping stone into what this season could be for him.
Yep, no question. I think the ceiling too for this team, like obviously there's a lot of things that have to remain the same. Desmond Bane's still going to have to be that guy. Ja Morant still has to be that guy. But I think the ceiling, based on his defense, offensive side, the way he plays both ends of the floor, I think the ceiling for this team as a championship contender can sort of almost start and end with Jaren Jackson Jr. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes this year. We
shall see. Well, we're going to wrap this one up, boys. It's been a shorter episode. I think we're under 50 minutes, which is rare for us. But the boys had a long weekend.
Yep.
If we didn't impress you or blow you away, I apologize.
You'll get some rest. We'll be back next week. We're good.
It's easy money. It's easy money. Every day is not a Pro Bowl day.
We always impress. We impress.
I'm just saying, every day is not a Pro Bowl day. You can't win them all.
I get you.
Appreciate you. When Kenny laughs in the background,
I swear, yep, every time.
We appreciate you guys for watching. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, comment. If you're listening, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, you can subscribe there as well. Appreciate you guys for joining again. We'll see you back here next week.
Thank you for listening to On the Bluff. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. Head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co for comprehensive coverage of Memphis sports and how you can become an insider.